Welcome back to Blue and Blue, everybody. My name is Mark.
And I'm RJ. And when we get back, we're going to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Western Conference, and that big game in Anaheim.
Right, so finally the Leafs lose in major fashion against St. Louis. I think they may be starting to realize that what a tank is supposed to be.
Well, it got scary. We do the week. It got scary there for a while. They came out charged up and beat the Bruins 4-2. Beat the lowly Rangers 4-3.
Yeah.
But the Bruins win. That was quite surprising.
Yeah.
Maybe Bruins are trying to help the Leafs get down. The Bruins should be. The Bruins want the Leafs to win because they want them to get. They want to get that draft pick.
Yeah.
But the loss to St. Louis was was a big one. St. Louis is the team right now in that fifth spot. So the Leafs are now only 2 points out of the fifth last spot. So they could get down to that final five to get really good odds to stay in the final five and keep that draft pick. So that was. As exciting as it is, it was great to see the final score on that one was 5-1 against Toronto. The Leafs certainly committed to the tank on that one.
Yes.
And speaking of the West, then, so the Western standings are still pretty tight. We've got Nashville and Utah as the two wild cards, and Lakers, Seattle.
Lakers, Kings.
Well, I always say the Lakers because I think it's LAK.
Yeah, their damn acronym is LAK. Yeah.
Yeah, LAK. So it makes me think of the Lakers. So the Kings and the
Seattle.
I was going to say the Seahawks.
Yeah, me
Let's
too.
get all the league. I got to get a baseball team in there. Winnipeg and St. Louis are right behind them. St. Louis, they are a cross-off that is pouring it on. They've won seven of their last 10, and with two ties as well. So only lost one of their last 10.
Yeah,
They're
7-1 and
They're
2.
making a late charge. So who knows? Winnipeg could get in maybe, but I find it doubtful. But what's been going on in the leading into some news of the day is that Vegas has been losing at a fairly consistent. They've been playing awful. I don't know what's going on in that team. Other than I do know they have bad goaltending, and so the Vegas has panicked and panic move fired their longtime coach Bruce Cassidy and brought in John Tortorella. He rises yet again. I've forgotten how many clubs he's coached. And so that's a big move, and I have to wonder how Tortorella will get along with guys like Eichel and Marner, particularly Mitch Marner. I don't know if that's going to be a good fit there for Marner.
Yeah, I mentioned in the other video, I saw a meme on Facebook today that it showed the official retirement announcement of Mitch Marner because of Tortorella's coming.
This whole year, have been inundated with, and actually you've mentioned to me more than once in our videos. Oh, what if they don't have Marner? What if they had Marner? Wouldn't things be peachy? And you look, Marner's not exactly making Vegas very peachy. He's got almost a point a game. He's got 12 points in the last 15 games I checked. So it's not like he's not there. But boy, I watched Vegas Edmonton game last week, which was quite a good tilt. And Edmonton throttled them on the ice and in the alley. And Marner was invisible in that game because it was a heavy-hitting game. And I don't know. I just think that guy, I think Vegas has found out what the Leaf fans knew.
And a proof to your point is Toronto has won this year some games without Marner and Matthews in the lineup.
Well, the Leafs always play well. So it just, if Marner was here, we wouldn't be in the play. I think we'd be. I've always said to you, Marner would be worth maybe 2 to 3 wins on the year. And I also say that Marner's the third reason is that they never really replaced his production, but to me, it's the goaltending and Chris Tanev that are the two big problems here in Toronto. And to be fair to Marner and Bruce Cassidy and everyone else in Vegas, sort of similar to the Leafs. At the beginning of the year, it was announced that Alex Pietrangelo, their number one guy, was going to be out for the whole year. And I think he was a big part of the success of that huge, big, tough, burly defense that Vegas had. And now they look old and slow. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is Aiden Hill, they gave him a big 6-year contract. He was their cup-winning goalie. They really thought they were set in goal, and he's been dreadful. He's got one of the lowest save percentages. Right now, this latest streak, it's like 860. I mean, he's just awful.
Yeah.
and their other goalie not that much better. And Carter Hart, they brought him in off signed him out of the courts. He's not done well now and presently hurt. So I don't know. Maybe the Vegas fans are finally going to get taught a lesson as to what it's like to be the rest of us.
Yeah.
They've just had such a great run. Anyway, Bruce Cassidy out, John Tortorella in. What do you think of that?
I thought everybody hated Tortorella. I mean, I thought he was one of the most hated coaches in the NHL, and
Well, I'll tell you
now
why.
he got hired on.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because and that's why they hired him. He's the guy who puts the hot rod into the guy's ass. He's a guy who comes in. He doesn't last long. It'll wear off. They'll say the coach loses the room. They stop listening to him. I think they've stopped listening to Cassidy, and Tortorella's going to make him listen for the rest of this year. He's probably just a stopgap. He won't be the coach next year.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on what if they get all the way to the Final Four or the finals, which I doubt. But
Yeah.
But and I'll say this, little known facts about him. He loves horses. He's done a lot with horses. He's got a big horse rescue thing back in his farm in Wisconsin, and he's even bigger lover of dogs. He raises a lot of money for rescue dogs. So anybody in my book that loves horses and dogs, the Tortorella we see on the TV screens and yelling at his players is not the same as the horse and dog lover.
Yeah. Speaking of not listening to your coach, they're not listening to Berube at all anymore.
Well, actually, this story continues on a Leaf angle. The Torts Cassidy. I think I'm going to go out on a limb right now, and next September or July when we find out, Berube's gone, and I'm going to tell you right now, I think Bruce Cassidy will be the next coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. That guy's going to get hired somewhere next year.
You heard it here first, folks.
He took a Boston team that was imploding and built them up, and then he came to Vegas and finished the job that wasn't getting done there.
Yeah.
He is going to get another job. 100%. He'll be a coach next year in the NHL. I think it's going to be Bruce Cassidy, head coach, Toronto Maple Leafs. You heard it here first.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on if the Leafs don't get rid of Berube?
Laugh. I got to get look. Well, let's get into the next newsworthy thing. The other thing that came out this week was Keith Pelley in the last week or so conducted one-on-ones with everybody in the organization. I think that included players. I'd like to see Keith Pelley and Willie Nylander's one-on-one. But anyway, Pelley, he's talking to everybody. And he's going to do he's trying to find out what to do with this team. He's got to make some changes, and it's pretty hard to get rid of no-move contracts. So Nylander and Matthews, it's going to be really hard to get rid of them.
Yeah, they'd have to want to get out. They'd have to want to leave.
Yeah.
And do you think they want to leave?
Well, I think Nylanders just keep him here because it's hard to move both guys. And plus, when you're moving a guy with a no-move, you don't get full value. But I do think they got to move on from Matthews because his contract's up next year. Nylander's signed for many more years. You can figure what to do. I think next year is critical of that. By next year's trade deadline, Matthews has to be either inked to another contract, which will be ugly because he's not worth $14 million, and he's going to go, why am I getting I'm not taking a pay cut.
Oh, but no, they'll retain. If they get rid of him, they'll have to retain.
No, I'm talking about if he goes.
That's what I mean. Like if he leaves, Toronto's gonna have to retain like half his salary.
No. I'm talking about his next. No, that's for the next 2 years.
Next contract.
His next contract.
Okay,
the Leafs are not going to. The Leafs are not. Would be crazy to give that guy $15 million.
Wherever he goes next, he's not getting 14. He'll be getting much less.
Well, that's why I think now's the time to strike. Well, I know he's devalued right now with being hurt and having a crappy year.
You'd have to have a hell of a year.
But you got to find a general manager out there that thinks he just needs one piece, and you take back some of the salary. And you throw him out there, I heard there's rumors that Kenny Holland in L.A. loves Matthews, and I'm sure Matthews loves playing L.A., close to his home in Arizona, blah blah blah. So, yeah, I think they got to trade him because I don't think he's going to be worth the contract he's going to ask for 2 years from now. But secondly, if you don't trade him and he just says, sayonara like Marner did, and then you're left with just getting we ended up ultimately getting Colorado's first-round draft pick for Marner. It's just, I'm not saying they're not going to get superstars for Matthews, but they are going to be able to get a couple of good prospects and maybe a good player.
Yeah, but how will he be able to justify, say, asking for $16 million in 2 years if he doesn't produce next year?
Another reason why it's ugly, it's going to be ugly for but if that's why I'm saying if you trade him between now and next September and find some general manager that just thinks I got to change up my team and I need that one I need to get that one big shot guy. and they get excited about
And
him.
you got to find a team that's got the cap space too. Like,
Well, I'm sure they'll make. I mean, that's why you have to trade him in the summer when teams do have cap space.
Yeah.
Instead of going in the free agent pool, you just take Matthews as their big move.
Right.
But going back to the Berube, they got to make a move. They got to do. They can't just bring back that whole cast of characters.
No.
And say, you know what, it was just goaltending and injuries, which is what Pelly did in his letter. He didn't say goaltending even. He just said the schedule and injuries, health. And no, they got to make a move. They're going to have to make a move. And Berube's gone. Berube, believe me, I think Berube won. Have you seen his press conferences? He looks like a guy
just got out of the pub
reading one of those hostage letters. I think it would be doing him a favor. He's got 2 more years on his at $6 million, so don't hold a tag day for this guy.
And speaking of casting characters, if at the beginning of the season you saw tonight's lineup as the lineup playing now, would you believe that?
I was pretty negative on the whole year, so I would go, geez, you know what? This year unfolded the way I thought it would. I'm serious. I was very negative. I saw the old defense. I thought the goaltenders outperformed last year, missing Marner and so forth. And I thought the signings that he made this year didn't make sense. And, when you've got Max Domi playing on your first line, I know it's going to be a long year.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be. I'd be. My eyes would be wider, but I would not be shocked, or my heart would be. Oh my God! What happened to the Leafs there?
Because I saw tonight's lineup. Because you guys are playing tonight. You guys are playing Anaheim tonight.
Yeah, shabby.
And I was looking at it going, like, half of these names, I didn't know that half these names at the beginning of the season, because these are just names that are.
Well, that's what they get. But that's what a tank. But
nobody's.
That's also what a tank looks like.
Yeah.
A tank, you start throwing in your AHL players, and positioning them in, and actually giving them roles maybe they're not even totally suited for. There's ways to lose without trying to lose. There's, it's still trying to lose, but you put the guys on the ice, say, hey, try as hard as you want. You're still, and Berube's working up a sweat behind the bench trying to coach them into it, but you still lose, and geez, we were outgunned, and we're going to tank, and we're going to get in that final 5. That's what the Leafs are going to sell next year. If they get in that final 5 and get that draft pick, that's exciting. Let's just say the Leafs won the lottery and ended up drafting Gavin McKenna. Boy, things change.
Yeah.
Which is really tough on that poor kid, by the way. He gets drafted by I don't know. Let's make up a team. San Jose. A little different. If he comes to Toronto, he's going to be, there's going to be 3 wise men and 3 shepherds and the whole 9 yards with the frankincense and the music.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big deal.
Right.
But
so to finish up, I want to ask your opinion on one thing, and I'm kind of throwing a curveball at him.
Well, I got to go to the Anaheim.
We didn't talk about this one. Yeah, I want to talk about Anaheim tonight. So Gudas was injured, but Gudas says,
that's what you want to talk about. That's what I wanted to talk about.
Gudas said he's gonna play tonight, whether he's injured or not.
He's still listed as day to day.
He said, but I saw an article. He said regardless if he was injured, he was going to play because he didn't want to look like a coward, thinking that he can't get on to the ice. Yeah. What do you think happens tonight? They dress Pizzetta.
Okay, you mentioned a name that bothers me. Here's the thing: if Gudas plays tonight and Pizzetta goes after him and they get in a punch up, I'm not gonna. Do I really care, Pizzetta? That's his job. That's what he does. What does that do? What does that do? No, you know what I want to see, and it's not going to happen, folks. The 4 guys are on the ice when Matthews was down were Riley, Nylander, 2 old vets should know better, Brandon Carlo, who should know better, and the kid. Cowan. So I don't want Cowan to do anything, although that kid seems like he might be the most like out of those 4. If you want to bet on it in Vegas, I might say give him how the way Cowan plays and what he's he came to the defense of Robertson the other day in that game. Anyway, if Pizzetta or Joshua go after Gudas, what does that mean? I don't. That's what they do. It's just a carnival. It's an arranged marriage of fighters. I want to see Nylander, Riley, or Carlo say, hey, you know what? I screwed up and I got to rectify that. No, it's Nylander. If Nylander did it,
I'd be shocked.
Front page news, but boy, oh boy, would that ever be fun? And that's what I want to see, and that's what it's got to be. If it's Pizzetta, it's not even, to me, that's like wearing your earmuffs to an opera, raincoat in the shower. Who cares? Really, I don't care if Pizzetta fights Gudas. The problem was Those guys on the ice didn't react. They're getting a chance now, only a couple of weeks later, to rectify and rewrite their own history. And I would, because right now, this has been a terrible year. And later on, it's all forgotten with the, sandpaper. It all gets sanded down that, they missed the playoffs and it was the start of the decline. But people are always going to remember that night. Because another reason they might remember it too, that might be Matthews' last game if they end up on the off chance of trading him. So all we're going to remember is Matthews laying on the ground with his knee flailed out, and our boys stood around and did nothing for it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be remembered. When we talk about this season 3 years from now, that's when the decline started. Oh, yeah, and then they sure showed their color. We knew the season was lost because look how they played when Matthews got hurt. Yeah, I think, but if Riley or Nylander went and stood up, I know I'm joking that he would do it. But let's say Riley goes over and takes on Gudas. Boy, and maybe clocks him like Wendell Clark style on Fatizov back in the 30 years ago, which was a big one. Because Fatizov took Clark's knee out, and then the next time they met, Clark took him to task for it. If Riley knocked out Gudas, not knocked him out, but took him down and put him on the ground and five-flushed him, I got a feeling Toronto fans would take some. It's been a shitty year, but boy, that was a fun moment. And we'll talk about that for 3 years.
Yeah.
So Morgan Riley, take my advice. You can really get some goodwill and not get a school named after you. That's going to take a Stanley Cup. Yeah. But you can certainly get a lot of goodwill by smashing Gudas. I know we hate to talk like this about hockey, that it's all about this kind of stuff. But unfortunately, it is about this kind of stuff. Yeah. So anyway, they're on a West Coast trip. It starts tonight, and then they play San Jose on Thursday and LA next Saturday. That's all I got. You were going to mention a couple of signings.
Yeah. The last administrative notes there.
Get me excited.
Toronto's signed a big defenseman, Hayes Hundley, for 2 or 3 year entry-level contract. So, I think that's just to reinforce the Marlies right now and then bring them up eventually if they need them, I guess.
Well, you sign these kids out of college and maybe one of them, they're like lottery tickets and they're scratching wins.
Yeah. I don't know the player development in Toronto. I don't know anything about it. Do you know anything about the player development in Toronto? Is it good? Has it been good?
What are you talking about? It's one of the worst in the league.
Is it? Okay.
They have a terrible draft record, and then they also have a terrible.
Follow that.
Well, look at the roster. Riley's homegrown, Nylander's homegrown, Marner was homegrown, but you don't count Marner, Nylander, and Matthews. Anybody could draft those guys. They were drafted in the first.
They were drafted for
top 10. Nylander was like 9.
They were drafted good already.
Yeah. Everyone knew take Matt. So you can't count how many draft choices that they've developed have they got on the team. Like Joseph Wall, I think is a draft choice. I'm struggling. I'm already struggling. Robertson's a draft choice. Yeah, big deal. Yeah. Cowan's a draft choice. Again, I think he was a first round. So do we count that? You got what you want to look at. Player development is taking your second and third rounds. Going back to finish off on Montreal. Lane Hudson drafted like 64th. They've got this kid in the KHL right now.
Yeah.
19-year-old. Can't pronounce his Zarovsky.
Yeah.
Alexei Zarovsky. He was drafted like 34th in the second round.
Yeah.
That's player development. That's player scouting and then developing. The Leafs, the Leafs are terrible. Have been, always will be, have been for the last, they've always been in the bottom 5 or 6 teams in terms of draft pick hits, late round picks, and then keeping the guys for 7 or 8 years. They get them and they turf them, and then they go and blossom somewhere. Look at Bobby McMahon right now. I wanted him traded, so I'm not complaining about that. But Bobby McMahon goes to Seattle right now. He's on a heater. I don't know the stats in front of me, but just my eyeballs are going to say since he got traded, I'm going to make up 5 goals, 4 assists, and I bet you.
Yeah, I think it's something like 8 points in 10 games or something.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
crazy.
It was crazy.
Anyway, but we wanted him traded, and he had to be traded. And we don't want that contract that he's going to get next year from some sucker. I think anyway. But anyway, that's it. We were way over time here.
Yeah, way over time.
Always with the Leafs. The Leafs, you just can talk about them forever.
Yeah, exactly. But if you stuck around to the end, thank you very much. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and let us know what you think in the comments. And then we'll see you in our next video.